My guest this week is Gareth Liddiard. Gareth is an Australian singer, songwriter, guitarist, and recording studio nerd who is best known as the leader of the bands The Drones and Tropical Fuckstorm. He began making and recording music in the mid-90s and has released albums and toured as a solo performer and in the bands Bong Odyssey, The Drones, Springtime, Spencer P. Jones and the Nothing Buts, and Tropical Fuckstorm, whose music Iggy Pop described as a good fuck. Gareth lives in the Victoria Bush with his wife and fellow bandmate Fiona Kitchen, where they've made records and films for many years. The latest Tropical Fuckstorm album, titled The Fairyland Codex, will be released on June 20th by Fire Records, and I've been told that the band will begin touring North America and Europe in June 2025 until further notice. And it is my great pleasure to welcome to Revolutions Per Movie, Gareth Liddiard. Hi, Gareth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I love time zones.
Yeah, it's the morning here. It's kind of, we're getting into winter. It's like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
And the kangaroos, there's like 40 kangaroos in my garden just over there, eating all my vegetables.
It's so funny listening to your records and knowing that a lot of them are recorded where you live.
Yeah.
You know, I just had my own thoughts about like what the space looked like, and then you actually make a film, Goody Goody Gumdrops, and I get to see like the inside of all of your brains. That film, which is like part concert film, part you talking about how to make a drink that's named after you, part sitting outside and just hearing, I'm assuming, insects. I can't figure out what's in between like aspirin and Maria 63. What sound is that?
They are cicadas and frogs, because we've got like a wetland which has a swamp, and it has a billabong, and it has a lagoon, and it has a creek, and it has a river, and our property is on that. So yeah, we live sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours out of Melbourne, and because Melbourne's just too expensive.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, we left the city in about 2007, and a friend owns this insane property, and he's the nicest guy, and he rents it to us for really cheap. So yeah, we just live in this mad place. Yeah, and we put these school buildings on it, and it's our recording studio. You know, we've just bought lots of gear, and it's great.
And didn't the film kind of come about out of a necessity for being separated during the pandemic? Like kind of a loophole, like a creative loophole.
Yeah, like a legal loophole. Yeah, because the girls are in another country town, which is about an hour and a half away from here, and it's in another region. So during the pandemic, we legally couldn't, most of the time we legally couldn't meet up. And it was a drag. I mean, we're trying to make a record, and we were just trying to have fun, basically.
Right.
Yeah, but then, the guys and gal from Amyl and the Sniffers, Amy's boyfriend is a filmmaker, and we were talking to them, and they were like, oh man, you just need to get a film permit, you can do anything. And we were like, wow, okay. And they helped us, they showed us where to get the permit. So then we just made a movie just so we could hang out, because it was getting so lonely. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it was also so comforting in a weird way to just see how you live, and also how you actually play these songs. Like I'm really curious about like what leads the creation of your music. I don't want to, dispel any magic, but I'm reading a book about Wire right now.
Oh yeah.
And they would write songs like I'm the Fly Around, and like somebody just hitting a note on a specific pedal they're playing with, and then they like, we're building a song around this. But you have like counter melodies coming in and out, and all these complicated tempo changes, and different, like sometimes they're like really dense, and then there are other times they're really spacious. I guess I'm just wanting to know, like, where do you start with? Does it like lyrics, a beat, or does it just change all the time?
It's sort of, most of the time with TFS, because like we did the Drones for 16 years or something, and that was more of a guitar band, because we kind of I mean, in the 90s, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, we had tons of mad synthesizers, and we had Leslies and real Hammonds, real Leslies. Like, we just had a ton of shit. All these, Junos and JPX synthesizers, and I don't know, heaps of drum machines, because all that stuff wasn't cool, and so we could afford all this shit. We'd go down to a pawn shop, and you could just buy all this stuff, like insane equipment, like for nothing. And so we had all this stuff, but eventually we moved cities and we sold it all, became a guitar band, because that was what we could hold on to. And so I always wrote the songs with the guitar, and then the drones ended, and then I thought, I can't be fucked writing on the guitar anymore. It's so boring. Like, I've got so many habits that I just pick it up and I instantly just do just all this habitual stuff. So then what we did is we just got a bunch of drum machines again, and all that sort of crap, electronic stuff, shit we didn't know how to use. And then we just turn it on and see what happens, and then record for 8. And we record it into the thing, we call it the spare parts department. So we have hard drives full of just us doing these crazy, stupid, kind of psychedelic jams. Because we like to party when we record, and down near us there's a mushroom patch. So,
Oh my God, amazing.
Yes. But then we record hours of the shit, and then later we go through it and we find the bits that were actually good. And then say, like, just it might happen, there's a bit that just happens to be in A minor, and then there's this other weird sort of bit that happens to be in D minor. I don't know. So I'll then go, okay, we can put them together, and then I get a guitar and I write the song, and then we use the drum machines, to do it, and then we learn how to play what the drum machines and the bass synthesizers are doing, and we're off. And it's
oh my God.
Yeah, so it's really the whole point being that we're starting in a different place. You start everywhere. It's like you teleport to a different galaxy, and that's where you start. You don't have to travel to that galaxy. You just teleport there, in there, and and then we can come up with shit that we wouldn't come up with otherwise. Yeah.
Have you ever created things that you just are like, I can't crack how to make this happen live or to recreate it? It's just, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to transport anymore.
There's a couple of songs. There's a couple of things that are impossible, but most of it ultimately is you can do it on an acoustic guitar, because that's how I would, turn all these weird electronic jams into songs. I'd have to take them back to an acoustic, strum. They're songy songs. When you think of, I mean, I saw like Brendan from Mesthetics and Fugazi on your podcast, and he was talking about that Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark movie. I like that sort of stuff, songy, songwritery stuff. But then I also like Beefheart and Suicide.
No, I mean, you guys are the perfect blending of those worlds. Like, it's gorgeous, beautiful. Like like in the film, you're playing outside acoustically, and it's gorgeous. And then you go into your shed and you start raining just melting guitars down on your head. It's such a great, I mean, you have an amazing band. I mean, you're amazing too, but like, oh my God, people, if you haven't seen them play, your head will blow off. It is just incredible. As somebody who still doesn't, I'm a naive guitar player. Like, I never learned scales. From the 5th fret on, it's a mystery. And some people have said that's good because I don't have my patterns. But would I love to be able to know where the A minor is further up, and I just don't.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, if you're too virtuosic, that's when shit starts getting sterile and boring.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between. Like, I do things like I learn a million scales and then I just forget them. So it's weird. Like,
that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So it's like all an act of desperation, really. And I started on saxophone before I played guitar. So I play like that. I play in reams of stuff.
Yes.
So it's not not conventional guitar in that sense.
Is there a relationship between those two instruments?
Yeah, I mean the sax is monophonic. Like, you know, if you're watching something boring like Eric Clapton when he's soloing, he's generally playing two notes simultaneously all the time, and he's very clever, but it's just dull. I find.
Yep.
I'm more into. You know, I think Greg Ginn is a good guitar player.
Oh my God, me too. That's you're speaking my language right there. It's like you just start and you end up where you go.
Yeah, I mean that's very saxophony. That's
true.
What he does. Yeah, so it's like that. I mean, I started on saxophone because I listened to jazz before I listened to rock and roll, and then, you know, like I was trying to do Charlie Parker and Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane, and it's really fucking hard. It's so hard, and it's like it's a science, especially the Coltrane stuff. Like, and then one day I heard Jimi Hendrix, and I went. I mean, it sounds stupid, but Hendrix at that moment sounded a lot easier, you know, than Coltrane, and I sort of thought, well, maybe I can do that. Yeah, I sold the guitar and I mean, sold the sax and got a guitar, and yeah, and then my sister one day, I don't know why. I think I was reading Thrasher magazine or some shit. Remember Thrasher magazine?
Oh my God, yeah, of course.
And used to have in the back. You'd see like it would sell T-shirts or something in the back, and it's like Circle Jerks and Butthole Surfers and like JFA or something. And I saw Black Flag, and my sister. I was just impressed by Black Flag. Oh, that's cool. And I'm like fucking, you know, 13 or 14. Perfect. And then one day my sister came and said, "Oh, I found one of these Black Flag tapes," and that was it. My life changed.
Which one was it?
It was Wasted Again. So it was a compilation.
Oh yeah, great.
Of all the first 4 years kind of thing. So yeah, with Keith and everything, and then that was. Then I went, oh, I heard Keith singing, and I thought, oh, maybe I can sing.
Yeah,
because Keith,
that's so great.
He's not Maria Callas.
I was the other way. I kept reading about like jazz because of Mike Watt and Greg Ginn. I didn't know any of that stuff. And so it was like the opposite direction. And it was like, what's Rashawn Roland Kirk? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and you're like, okay. I also wanted to ask you about your music videos, because to me, they remind me of like the old Mushroom Records videos of like the Swingers or Mental as Anything. These kind of like combinations of like lo-fi animation with like absurdly high-tech editing.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that yourself, or the animation? How do you decide who's going to do that visually for you?
Well, we have recently with the recent songs, there's a guy called SB5 Euro is his name. He's a Mexican guy from Italy.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, and he does all that mad squiggly shit. But in the past, we've always made them ourselves. You know, we've done things, you know, make Robot Wars, or I don't know. We've got plenty of space. We can just film it ourselves, and we kind of figured out early on that it's good to blow stuff up because we can just get you know, like a half a pound of gunpowder and just make bombs and fuses and then just blow shit up in slow motion. And so we've done a lot of that, and it's fun. We've had
the video for Anne, the Stooges cover you do, where it's all in miniature, and then it's just like this, everything's on these little, the crowd and the miniatures are like, everything's on fire and melting and burning. It's so great.
We just blew everything up. Yeah. So we've made a lot of videos.
Yeah, blowing up stuff is good, and I can see why you picked the film we're talking about today. And I will start here by saying I saw Blixa Bargeld from EINSTÜRZENDE Neubauten. Tell me how to say it, because this is a band from Germany. This was my high school study music. It was like Coil, Negative Land, Neubauten, Scraping Fetus from the Wheel, Tackhead. Like, I had an industrial phase. I didn't know how to say it, so I was like, EINSTÜRZENDE Neubauten. And then to watch him break it down, I had to put it phonetically up here so I could do it. But it's EINSTÜRZENDE Neubauten. But I'm just going to say Neubauten, if that's okay.
Yeah, most people do. It's it's EINSTÜRZEN. So and that's from the horse's mouth. I got it taught to me directly from Blixa. So EINSTÜRZENDE Neubauten.
Okay, I got to slow down my brain here. So you've met Blixa.
Yeah, we've played with EINSTÜRZEN. We've played with them twice, not TFS, but the drones. And I mean, we've seen them heaps of times and hung out a bunch. And they're cool guys. They're really funny. They're music nerds. They're Blix's really funny.
Yeah, he's one of the coolest people in music ever. Like, you put him next to Nick Cave when he was in the Bad Seeds, and you're like, this motherfucker's the cool one. Blixa looks really cool. And that's hard to do.
I remember seeing the Bad Seeds. It was like 1990 or 91. It was the first time. So I'm in high school, and I went to a gig, saw them. I was like, wow, because the Bad Seeds, back then, they were just the best band in the world. And, I mean, Nick's amazing, but it was like, he's cool, but who the fuck is that guy? The guy on the guitar.
Yes.
Like, he just had an aura. Like, he was so insane.
Yeah. The first footage I ever saw of them was on an American show that was pre-MTV called Night Flight. And they were showing Neubauten playing outside, flaming oil barrels around them, and Blixa with the classic hair spiked up, but with like most of it missing. Like it's like just randomly shaved off in areas. He's wearing like this he's raked thin, wearing this leather, S&M kind of belted thing. You can't hear the guitar at all, but he's playing it like a maniac. And in the meantime, this band is like playing burned out cars and scraping metal and hitting things. And I was like, I got to find a record of theirs. And so, but this film, Halber Mensch, half man, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
When you told me that we were going to talk about this, I was like, oh, I know this. I love this film. I was thinking of a different film. I was thinking about this documentary that came out a year later about them.
Yeah. And that you said because of the freeway bit where they're inside the underneath of a freeway.
Yes, exactly. I had not seen this.
They can't stand up. They're bending over. They're prone.
Yeah.
Because they can't stand up in there. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so I was like, got it. Know it backwards and forwards. I had not seen this. And so
really?
Putting it together, I was like, oh my God, it's a treat. Like and what a beautiful film.
Oh, it's a masterpiece. It's actually, I mean, I watched it again last night. And it stands up. It hasn't become corny. I mean, stuff like Negative Land and I don't know, some of that stuff, Throbbing Gristle, it's amazing. But then some of it's dated or something, and some of it's...
I get that, yeah.
It's not quite high. It's not quite as sort of highfalutin as Neubauten. Somehow Neubauten, it's so insanely, powerfully, ridiculously over the top.
Yeah. They deliver, too. It's like, this is like a super group. It's like the Beatles of industrial music. They have personalities like Ringo, like a John. Yeah. Like you read into, you project, they're charismatic. A lot of them started when they were kids, like Alexander was like 14 when he joined. And so you're watching a band grow together. It would be really on the outside to read about it. You'd be like, this sounds maybe a little pretentious. It's a Japanese filmmaker, Gakuru Ishii, who still makes really wildly experimental films. He made a film last year called The Box Man, about a nameless man who He lives in a large cardboard box, basically. So this person is still making films that are just outside. But what was amazing is he was doing this while he was in college, and he was using the college's film equipment and team to make these films, but he had no intention of graduating. And they eventually were like, you have to leave. You keep making all these films with our stuff.
Wow.
It's kind of amazing. But it's like, for somebody so young, it is a masterful film. It is just, it looks beautiful. It has a pacing that's incredible. The coverage is amazing. And because of it, it's not pretentious. Like, it has so much artistic moments in it, but it's a very unpretentious film.
It does. I mean, it does. Some of the editing is really sort of quite out there, but it doesn't go so out there that it's wanky or pretentious. Yeah, it's hard to describe. I mean, so it's hugely cinematic. All the colors are beautiful. All the way it all, mixes up, and then, that opening. What is it?
Armenia, yeah.
Armenia is the first song where you hear that throbbing synth and the camera across. I mean, I saw that when I was 16 or 17, and it was on late night TV in Australia, and I was on acid at a friend's house at my girlfriend, and
Yes.
and I was heavily into, all sorts of rock and roll, whether it's American hardcore type stuff or
right,
or punk and whatever, like, really crazy, feral, fucked up music. But when I saw that, I just went, whoa. It took the cake. It was the heaviest, meanest, most depressing, and, it's fucked up. They have a strong look as well. You know what I mean? I was depressed.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. And I just love the way it starts. Again, this could sound really pretentious. Okay, yes, it takes place in like an kind of an auto salvage place, basically, cars stacked on top of each other, muffler parts, and just the amount of waste. But it's shot so beautifully and framed so incredibly, even before we get to see the band.
Yeah.
And if I told you that, okay, this band Neubauten is playing in a warehouse on metal instruments and, they're just creating a bunch of noise. In your head, you would imagine, I can see that, I've seen that maybe, like, because there were so many bands that did use like industrial, like warehouse, empty spaces in music videos. And, it's just a time-tested thing. The space they found is like watching Tarkovsky's Stalker or something, where you're like,
Stalker.
I can't figure out what I'm seeing. Like, what was this? How is this standing? The depth of it, just what stands there, the holes that are there that are like purposely put there. Like, it's just visually, it's a trip.
It's a total trip. I mean, if they're industrial, then they're like the Miles Davis of industrial music. They're at the top of the pile. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
yeah, and the way it starts as well, because you're right. It sort of shows all those crushed cars, and all sorts of scrap metal, huge piles, like mountains of the stuff. And then it sort of shows a massive pile of TVs, old fucked up televisions, and just before the music starts, all the TVs switch on. So the kind of it's like all that waste and all that dead junk comes to life. And then that synthesizer starts, and that synthesizer, it has a pulse. It's like, all that crap wakes up, becomes sentient. And then the music starts, and it's like, it's just the heaviest thing. And then you go, wow, if you see it for the first time, you go, wow, it's pretty impressive. And then it's like when Blixabargeld screams for the first time, anyone would be like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's what? We were hanging out, and I was talking to Andrew Unruh, one of the percussionists, and we were talking about Coil and stuff like that. can. And yeah, and I said, you know, like, you guys have done really well, and you've outlasted everybody in a way. And he just went, yeah, because we've got the best singer. It's just, we have a really good singer. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, they embraced rock attitudes.
Yeah, it's rock and roll. Yeah.
They're not playing in the dark. They're not backlit.
Yeah.
Like, Blixa is like a rock star.
Yeah.
He drops to his knees. He screams. He stalks. He walks around. He struts. He looks cool, and he knows it. He's a star.
He knows it. Yeah.
And I think that is part of the magic of it.
Yeah.
If you don't understand it musically, if you're going to shut it off and just be like, well, this sounds like, I don't get it, you know, you can't deny that this is, again, like, full of charisma.
Oh, yeah.
And just,
yeah,
it is just powerful visually, like, as a band. And I think that's part of the reason they've lasted so long too.
Yeah.
You know, they'd have really pretty interludes and like kind of spooky, haunted, slower things. But like, when the gear was turned on, it was like, yeah, what are you, Thin Lizzy? Are you David Bowie? Whatever. It's like height of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, just looking at him, you can see they're kind of, you know, the German cousin of, you know, Sex Pistols, that really feral. It looked like you just crawled out of a gutter or out of a squat. You know what I mean? It's really rough living, amphetamine fueled life. Yeah, so they're rock and roll. I mean, you know, I've heard people say they're avant-garde, they're this, that, and the other. I mean, yeah, in a way they are, but they come from rock and roll. You know, they look rock and roll.
I think so too. Yeah, they have songs, and they have choruses sometimes, even in the most.
Yeah.
Like, this music was so comforting to me, and I knew it inside and out. It was not abstract to me.
Yeah.
Like, I just learned it.
Yeah.
I learned it.
Yeah. There's something, yeah, they've got a kind of something more symphonic, or, yeah, just more than something like Psychic TV, or, yeah, there's more songness. And, you know, and Blixa is such a just incredibly good singer. Like, he's one of the great singers. And most of it's improvised in a way. It's structured, but so loosely.
Yes.
So it's boggling how good they were. And, you know, this film is shot at a point, it's in 1985, it's at a point where, you know, they've been around for 5 years. So they've got the act down. They know how to use their equipment.
Yes.
You see them in the movie later in the film, they're setting it all up for a gig in Tokyo, and they're doing a sound check, and you can see that none of it's an accident. They know what they're doing. They know how to make all this crazy shit work. And, you know, you've got shopping trolleys, and you've got old oxyacetylene gas bottles and chainsaws and, you know, jackhammers and all sorts of stuff.
A sledgehammer against a wall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Yeah.
And that trolley that they use the microphone grocery cart, that is one of the most amazing sounding things of all time.
Yeah.
You would look at it and be like, I know how that's going to sound, right? But they actually play it, and it's so versatile, and they can do so much with it that you're kind of like, what the fuck? Like, even if they punch it, it has a different sound.
It sounds better than you think it would. Yeah, because you forget, like, on the side, there's the bars on the side of the shopping trolley, and, you know, they go from the front to the back, and as they do, they get longer. And if you run
right
a piece of Rio bar down the side, it will go in this really wild way, and you put that through a, you know, 100 decibel PA, it's going to sound good. And then they've got, you know, Alex Hacker's got his own mixing desk there with his own effects racks. You know, so when he's not playing guitar, he's using those, you know, Eventide mad, you know, pitch effects racks and stuff. And yeah, it's just it's genius. And it's so, you know, they're not messing around. It goes ballistic the same way, you know, the MC5 or Black Flag would, you know, it goes absolutely ballistic. Yeah, they lift off.
Yeah. they're like leaping over what they're playing. Like the metal they're playing, they're like jumping over it back and forth. They're running from thing to thing. They know how to use the stage.
Oh yeah.
It's just like running up to the front of the stage to like do a guitar solo and then backing away. It's like, it's so
Yeah.
incredible. When Bob Burt of Pussy Galore and Sonic Youth came on the show, I asked him, how did it feel to play your trash can drum set that had like the metal rings on it? Did that hurt? And he's like, yes, it really fucked me up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, like, is it FM? Is that his name?
Einhard. Yeah.
The guy who's really ripped in the band,
Yeah.
but like really, he's just like cut. The guy is so fit.
You see him pick up the piece of the reinforcement bars that he uses there as drumsticks. I mean, most drummers they'd tear all the tendons in their arms doing that.
Yeah, that's it. And he's using full force to hit these things. He's not like tapping on them.
Yeah.
It's like his full body going into this. This is another thing that happened on the show when I had the people who did Desolation Center, which was the first time Neubauten came over and they played in the Mojave Desert. He went around with them to steal stuff for their show. They're like, yeah, we have a shopping list. And so they would just go to like construction sites at night and steal the stuff that they needed. And he was just like, and everyone who was helping them, like Stuart knew because he saw them in Germany, but everyone else was like, what do you need this stuff for? Do we need microphones? What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that you can't tour with all that stuff. Yeah, that's an amazing that festival in the desert. That documentary is great. Yeah, and it's got like survival research labs, which is sort of similar.
Yep.
To Neubauten. Yeah, and there's bits. They interview Alex Hacker in that, and he's really funny. Those they're fucking funny guys. They're really funny. Like we were playing one of the gigs we did. It was us, Neubauten, and fucking Perry Ubu. And the drummer from Perry Ubu, he's got the Neubauten tattoo. And he noticed I've got it too. I got it when I was like 17. And he goes, oh, you've got the tattoo. Has Blixer seen it? And I went, yeah. He goes, oh, I want to show Blixer my tattoo, but the problem is it's on my arm. And then right next to it, I've got a police tattoo. And I was like, what, police? Like the band? He's like, yeah, the band, because, I'm a drummer. You got to police. Stuart Copeland. Just show Blixer, it'll be fine. And eventually we were backstage before or after the gig, and we're drinking and that. And I said, Blixer, this guy's got a tattoo. He wants to show it to you. And the guy pulls up his tattoo, pulls up his sleeve, says, oh, I've been a big fan of your band forever, man. I love your band. Blixer's like, yes, that's nice. What is this? Oh, the tattoo. She says, don't worry, that's the police. And Blixer's like, why would you have the fucking police tattooed on your arm? And I'm like, no, the band. And no, that's right. No, Blixer goes, I fucking hate the police. I said, no, it's the band. And then Blixer goes, oh, no, I love the police. Everyone's like, wow. Blixer Bargeld likes stink. It's amazing.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but I mean, even that section where they're showing like number 6 and it's on the shopping cart. Number 7 is the drill. Number 8 is the metal duct. And then it starts getting up to them. And it's like number 17, Mark is getting his hair cut off and then shaved with like a straight razor, bald during the filming of this. And then you have like FM stitching his sneakers up with like a needle.
Yeah.
And then number 19 is NU being dropped upside down, clinging to pieces of metal. Number 20 is Alexander walking down a beach with what looks like a burned, torched
cat.
Yeah, a cat monkey. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, it was, and he's just got on a stick, and it's like, yeah, another day in Neubauten, and then
he's just walking along smiling.
Yeah,
with this thing on the end of his.
And then 21 is Blixa outside sleeping in the debris.
188 centimeters.
Yes.
Which is, over 6 foot and then 65 kilograms, which is tiny.
Yeah.
It's just all too much speed.
Yeah. It has their height and weight, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. And what they play. But it's like introducing the band. This is how they want you to know that they're a human. It's like this section.
Yeah. And then it goes into, that's where it goes into so the last beast in the sky, which is, it's the mellow song with the bass guitar pinging on the harmonics, and it's really quite a beautiful song. But it's all visual, and it sort of shows, it zooms into a piece of metal and you can see the atomic structure of the metal, and then it zooms into something like an animal and you can see the cellular structure, and it sort of compares them, and then you see a fetus sort of floating around in space, and then at this the perfect moment, it's really creepy. It zooms into the fetus and the fetus opens its eyes. It's really, and that sounds corny until you see it in context of the film. It's really cool. It's really heavy.
There's a couple musical interludes that are not the band in the film. They're more like, for lack of a better word, a music video. And that is one of them. But it is like really, I wrote down that it reminded me of David Lynch's Twin Peaks: The Return 3 decades before.
That fetus bit reminds me of June, the David Lynch version. Yeah, it's real sci-fi, fucked up, surreal, crazy shit. But yeah, I don't know how they came up with that.
Yeah, this filmmaker it's such a good meeting of minds, because it is shot so beautifully. It's done so well that I just had to wonder, like, often, like, well, how did they make something look like this? How did this happen? How did they know to like shoot from above and then have it pan around them? It's not a skimpy seat of the pants affair. You can tell it's very storyboarded and very particular in terms of what they're going to capture. They know, like, at this point, this guy's going to run over here and do this, and they're there for it.
I suspect the budget was actually pretty big, because the actual album, Halber Mensch, they just recorded it in Berlin at a big posh studio. It was like the most expensive thing they'd ever done and ever did. Yeah. And apparently, it cost hundreds of thousands or something.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know that Gareth Jones produced it.
Yeah,
and he did like Depeche Mode and Tuxedo Moon, and
totally.
But I assumed like Tuxedo Moon had no money and Depeche Mode did, so I didn't know where they fit in between.
Well, they were all kind of, the record company. What was it called? I can't remember. Thirsty Ear or Some Bizarre was the record company, but it was
Some Bizarre, yes,
a subsidiary of Sony or something like that. So it's like they had a huge budget. And apparently the band was stressed out making the album because it was costing so much. But Gareth Jones is the producer. What's his name?
Yeah, Gareth Jones. Yeah. And he did like Erasure and like Wire. I mean, he's done so many amazing things.
Well, apparently having the time of his life, because he got to record Neubauten, which would be fun if you were recording it. It'd be really cool. But so I think they, back in the day, that's 1985, and before that, I recently saw an old interview with Frank Zappa saying, in the 60s and the 70s, if you think about all the great rock and roll, whether it's Stooges or the Doors or Zeppelin or whatever, that was all made at a time when the record companies were run by businessmen who were just money men, and they didn't give a fuck about music, and really cynical. They just wanted to make music. Make money. And but that was perfect, because you could rock up with Captain Beefheart and say, we want to make an album, give us a huge budget. They would, you know what I mean? So a lot of crazy music got made just simply because the people funding it didn't care. They cared only about money.
Yeah, and they didn't know. They're like, maybe Captain Beefheart's going to be huge. Maybe this is what the kids want.
Imagine.
They didn't know, because everything that was a success, they were like, oh shit, okay, that happened. Now how do we figure this out?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, like the Doors.
Yeah, the Doors, Zappa, they're not like, oh, this Zappa thing he's going to be around forever. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's wild.
they're just like, whatever.
But yeah, I mean, that was the same with the Neubauten thing in the mid 80s. I mean, they were still getting huge budgets. And yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I imagine the movie would be, quite expensive because it looks expensive to me. It looks really expensive.
No, it looks beautiful and it does look expensive. I just never knew. Because, yeah, it looks almost like 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like grainy 16 millimeter.
Yeah.
So, like, when they do Halber Mensch, FM is looking down at his feet and it starts to be covered with, like, worms.
Yeah.
And then his leg gets eaten and then it falls off. And then the rest of the band are kind of looking at themselves through different, like, murky water, walking around. Again, I'm just like, were these spaces like filled with water?
Yeah.
Did they fill them with water? Like, they're beautiful. And that's why it reminds me of Stalker. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very stalkerish. Like the ground is very stalkerish. Yeah. And that's when the Buto dancers come out, those crazy dancers who are very hard to.
Incredible.
It's impossible to explain them. I mean, like Buto is like a traditional thing in Japan. I mean, says that's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird to think, like, I always thought Buto was old.
Yeah.
But really it started after World War II.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a reaction to traditional dance and tradition of Japan. It's just a lot of pain and anguish and like open-faced screams, painted or I don't know, covered completely in white, often shaved. A lot of sexuality in their work, a lot of pain in their work. I was reading about the troupe in it, and they would, do things like sleep deprivation, starvation, weird things to just kind of keep the troupe like raw. And it's a really beautiful meeting of minds, because I hope this doesn't sound pretentious to people as we're talking about it, because it is so powerful and so well matched with the band. So when they're showing Blixa doing something as simple as snapping, because this is one of the few times where it's like lip synced, I guess, for a lack of a better word. I keep saying that, but it's a lack of a better word. And showing the band kind of hitting their chests or doing things physical in their work, intercutting it with the Buto dancers, it's such an upsetting beauty that really visually matches the emotional power of the band. It's like a complete equal. That's hard to do, I think, in a film like this.
I know. I mean, if you were told you need to match something up with Neubauten back then, you'd be hard pressed to figure out what to match them up with. But it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I mean, as well, like say, when I saw it in the early 90s for the first time, I was, you're about my age too. We were that sort of generation where we'd been brought up on World War II films where, the Nazis and the Japanese were the baddies. And they, within those Hollywood films, they'd taken on a life of their own, those two. It wasn't realistic anymore. It was just these kind of comic book baddies, the Nazis and the Japanese. And so in this movie too, that's a part of what hits you, is like, wow, this is like the cultures that we kind of fought, and Blix's voice singing in German. It's like, Rammstein, part of the charm of Rammstein for all the little kids who listen to that is that it's this big German evil voice that's, sounds like a Hollywood baddie. So yeah, when you match up the Buto dancing with this very, Teutonic band, there is that, it does sort of give a nod to that crazy time in Hollywood when, I remember that, being impressed by that, because I liked war films when I was young too. Big fan.
But it feels warish.
Oh yeah.
There's a pain here.
Oh yeah.
That comes through. It's not weird for weird's sake. It's very wrought.
Yeah.
There's beauty in that, you know. It's like a really beautiful performance.
Yeah.
The scene where like it's empty in this really deep warehouse, and all of a sudden the Buto dancers just start appearing.
Yeah, like ghosts.
Out of like nowhere. But then you see like, oh, there were things in the background that I couldn't see them hiding behind. Like your eyes adjust to it. It's just so cool.
It's real.
And powerful. They start moving together as a Buto group towards each other. And then, yeah, when the next song kicks in and they start doing the more kind of kinetic stuff where some of them are dancing in unison, like snapping back and forth. Others are like, you know, somebody's crotch is in somebody else's crotch and they're holding each other up and they're like spinning around and there's somebody running by with like fireworks strapped to their back. It doesn't feel improv. You know what I mean? This is like, feels choreographed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like a real sense of purpose to it.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, it just, that dance troupe has that alien element that Neubauten has. Like there's so much in Neubauten where you'll hear a sound. I mean, it's music mainly, right? So you'll hear a sound you've just never heard before. Like, you know what I mean? You just go, where the fuck did that sound come from? It's completely alien. Like you might listen to classical music, jazz, rock and roll, but they'll do something that you've just never heard. It's such a rare thing. And I mean, yeah, the Buto dancers in the film are that too. They're the same thing. They're just like, I've never seen anything like this. Why is this? Where did this come from? This is bizarre. Truly bizarre. So perfect match. It's so good. Yeah, and that song's ZNS, which is it's all samples. So and that comes from the Halber Mensch album that they did in Berlin. Yeah, it's all samples and stuff. They do. I mean, they do a bunch of samples, but they got sick of it because what happens is one person, you know, is the boss of the sampler, and everyone goes to the pub, gets drunk, and so it ruins recording for them.
Yeah, to me, when I had this record, I was like, oh, that's the hit. That's like the catchy hit of the record, you know. It's like, this is the pop hit. You know, it's just like, what?
Yeah. 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 We got clicking. It's great. It's got that, you know. And then, it's just, it's so funky. And then at that point you go, where can we go from here? The movie has become so bizarre. I mean, yeah, after FM Einhardt's leg gets eaten off, and then his bone falls through the floor, and then comes from the ceiling, and then is caught in someone's hand, and then it turns into this huge wrench. You know what I mean? Like, it's so strange, and it's sort of, you know, that's like that theme throughout the movie where, you know, all this industrial waste is alive, you know, all this metallic stuff that they sort of make. It comes to life. It comes into this sort of shrieking agony of life. And, yeah. And then after that, Buto, but you're like, where can we go? And then it goes to the sound check, which is really cool.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah. And then the sound check and then one song at the concert. And that song is insane. I mean, it's like, it's a jet engine and everything's propelled by the bass guitar. And it's a classic. I love that because it's like the classic. It's just a Fender bass through an Ampeg rig. There's nothing fancy about that sound. It's just a rock and roll bass.
Even his guitar amp is like a Fender. You're like,
Fender.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, right.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's touchstones. There's things, familiar things. But that gig is wild. It's in Japan, and it's just, they just go absolutely berserk. It's so powerful. What a band.
Yeah, another really lovely thing about the film is you know, if you had the records, seeing, you know, like in that other documentary, seeing how they would actually make these things, you're like, oh, that, I get what that thud and scrape is. I don't know what that is, but I see what's making it.
Yeah.
And getting to see this after living with this album for decades and not knowing about it. Thank you, by the way, for bringing this to my attention, this film, is really exciting because they're, you know, except for the few little, you know, music video interludes, they're playing live. You know, they're playing these songs that I've known forever live. So it was really exciting to see some of these songs, like, just to be like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah,
I think I know how they did this.
they were a live band. I mean, they could do it. You know, it wasn't all studio trickery. And yeah, I mean,
Right.
so we've seen them, you know, from the late 90s onwards. And this is like the period where they've kind of mellowed out, and you know, they all wear suits. They act their age. They're not pretending to be young, you know, kind of crazy punk rats running around the ruins of Berlin anymore. They're not pretending to be that. They've grown up. But you know, so I've seen a lot of that, and some of the best gigs I've ever seen is that era, the adult era of Ian. But you know, when we've talked, because we're from Melbourne, you know, we talked to people, the birthday party guys and stuff like that, where they saw them back in like 1982, you know, at concerts in squats in Berlin or wherever. And they just say it was the best band ever. You know, it's just the best thing. You know, there's those touchstone bands. I think if you talk to someone who saw Bad Brains in like 1981 or something, they'd say the same thing. No, Bad Brains is the best thing.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, they're one of those bands, you know, or people, old roadies who saw the Jimi Hendrix Experience or something.
Well, I have to ask because, you know, when you see something great and you're a fan of it, often I find for myself, I immediately start going like, how can I incorporate something like that into my music? Like, I'm like, that's so cool. I wish I could do that. Have you, like, I feel like with Tropical Fuck Storm, you know, it is sonically adventurous, and also same thing where you're like, I don't know where this sound begins and end or what is making it. Is this even a guitar? What's going on? Like, did you take things from Neubauten to put into your music?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, tons of stuff. It was like, it's really formative as far as, you know, when I was getting into rock and roll, that was one of the things I was getting into first. Like, so they are for me what, you know, they're like Led Zeppelin or Hendrix or Black Flag. It's all in my DNA now. But I mean, one of the things, like good example is the guitar playing, Lixer Bargeld's guitar playing. It's just fucked. It sounds like the guitar's broken. But the thing is, he didn't play from the beginning to the end of a song. He would just play at choice moments. And so he could just play something completely mangled and out of tune, but he would always do it in the right spot. And that was kind of, you know, I would hear Miles Davis talking about the same kind of thing. And it is the same thing. It's like, you can do fucking anything as long as you do it in the right bit, and then you shut up and let everybody else carry on with whatever, you know. So there's all sorts of clever musical ideas in Neubauten that, you know, say you wouldn't kind of think on first listen, but the more you delve into it, it's really musical. It just doesn't happen to be in a minor pentatonic scale. It's just noise. It's absolute white, brown, you know, pink noise. It's crazy, but there's logic, the method to the madness, and yeah. So, but yeah, I think timing was one of the main things, and especially the way Blixer would play with the Bad Seeds. He was an incredible guitarist with them. He knew what he was doing.
Yes.
He can play all over everything, and yeah. So there's lots of stuff like that. I mean, you know, you could take, the obvious thing to do would be to take all that metallic percussion, but that seems too obvious, and you're not gonna beat them at that game. You're not gonna do that. I mean, the way they do it, it's overwhelming. And when you see it live in the flesh, it's just, there's moments where it literally is overwhelming. It's like, wow, you know, the wow factor. And that's the wow factor you would have got, you know, seeing Jimi Hendrix in 1967 or, yeah, things like that, you know, where you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
I also like at the end, it starts getting there's a little bit of a story. Like, they are kind of sledgehammering their way out of this building. You know, like, you see a hole starting to appear and there's kind of a green screen behind it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it looks like water's falling down on them, but I kind of felt like it's supposed to maybe look like the building's caving in on them.
Like
with,
dust.
like dust.
Yeah, it seems like the roof's caving in.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like I was like, how are they doing this?
Yeah.
I rewound it because I kept going like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Like that seems kind of like, well, first I got really weird about like, oh, what about their equipment? And I'm like, oh, well, shit. Yeah, it's metal. Okay, who cares? But I was like, oh man, it's water on their stuff. But yeah, they're just starting to kind of like want to escape, I guess, this scene. But in the end, there's this really powerful sequence of them playing in the middle of the street with like vapor heat waves.
Yeah, the heat waves.
They're being shot through it, so everything's just like pulsing with heat waves, and there's just a bullhorn and one of them's playing an acoustic guitar, and they're just in slow motion bashing on stuff, and it's just all scraping metal and a bass drone.
Yeah,
and I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, the music you're hearing, it's from the studio album. So, Blix has got the bullhorn and he's screaming through it. So you can't hear what he's doing or what any of the others are doing. So it's this incredible just drone of just hellish noise. It's like sticking your head in a jet engine. And then they're sort of lost in this sort of big imposing dead city. And they seem like they're the only bit of life left. The only kind of the only thing left alive. It's really it's really powerful. It hits you harder than you'd think. Yeah, and then the credits roll. Even the credits are beautiful on this because they're half Japanese, half English. Yeah, but it really is. It's a masterpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the art director on it has worked with like Quentin Tarantino on things and
really?
stuff. Like worked on Kill Bill.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wanted to see if this last song, the one you're talking about, that sounds like a jet engine. I took my phone to see if it could Shazam the name of the song from it, and it did. It worked. It was like, no, this is Shaman by Neubauten. I'm like, that. Okay, technology, you win. It actually did it. I was like, cool. It was.
That's wild. I never knew that would work.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had to try.
That's wild. It's like an extension of the song prior to it, which is "Der Tost ist ein Dandy," which is death is a dandy on a horse. And that's the one with the roofs caving in. And then the last song is just an extension of that, like a 9-minute. And it's really for what is just the most extreme piece of noise. It's quite moving. Or at least I think so.
Yeah.
It's an agony. But at the same time it's not an agony the way, I don't know, like a death metal band would do it, or Mayhem would do it, or something like that. It's kind of, it's not evil. It's not an evil sound.
No, there's beauty in their stuff, I think. I think there's beauty in what they do.
It's the song, the noise itself is not causing pain. The noise itself is in pain. That's probably the beauty. Yeah. It's amazing. It's
yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the ones they did at the studio that was costing heaps of money. Yeah. But
wow.
The producer was just having the fucking best time of his life recording that sort of stuff.
Well, it's so weird because this film, like, it came out in Germany and the UK and Japan. And didn't get over to the States until the 90s. There was a VHS company called Ada Vista that put out like really early Flaming Lips concert stuff. And, they put out The Great Flying Nun, Volume 1 compilation. But it was like, Pussy Galore Live, like really scrappy. And of course, at the video store, I had as many as I could find. Because by that point, there were small runs. It has been reissued on DVD by Cherry Red. And one of the great things was when I saw the DVD, they had all these things at the end that you can also get. Like, if you're a fan of Neubauten, maybe you should check out The Fall live at the Hacienda.
Oh, right.
Or
Yeah.
William Burroughs reading at the Final Academy.
Yeah.
Or Cabaret Voltaire. It was so funny. It was like totally pitch perfect. Like, we know our audience.
Like previews. Remember previews at the beginning of every VHS, and then after as well.
Yeah. And this one had that great version of The Birthday Party playing Junkyard with Tracy Pugh bending over backwards until he falls down and is squirming.
Yeah, on the television.
Just like,
that TV thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the greatest rock performances of all time.
Yeah.
Tracy Pugh just grinding away for like 3 minutes nonstop.
Yeah.
Like the most beautifully lewd performance. And then bending over backwards in a way that you're like, he's getting lower and lower. How is a human doing this? And then he just snaps into the drum set.
He was horizontal. His whole torso is like horizontal to the ground for a long time.
It's incredible. Yeah. And I love that bands like this. I loved when bands embraced rock and roll energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to grind our crotches at the audience, It's like, we're going to go full Elvis here.
Yeah.
And it's a birthday party. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that kind of, it's like the New York Dolls or something where it's almost,
right.
It's so over the top rock and roll. It's almost sarcastic, That's how ridiculous it is. Yeah. But it's Birthday Party and, Neubauten too. Yeah, it comes from that sort of Johnny Thunders, that attitude and that hair as well. I'm like, there would be no Birthday Party or Neubauten hair without Johnny Thunders having that massive fucking rock and roll hairdo.
Absolutely. You're so right.
So cool. Yeah.
It is.
It's just a great film. It's something, and I've always watched it since I was a teenager. It's always stayed with me. And watching it last night, I just remembered every moment. I knew what was going to happen. And when it started happening, I knew where it was going. And I hadn't watched it in 20 years, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's dear to my heart. I really love it.
But you watched it as a teen, you watched it a lot.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, all the time. Yeah. When we did the thing, we'd go to the VHS shop and we had a good one near us. And you could get, that. You could get some live Black Flag with, the Kira era. And then hated the G.G. Allen one. That was great. There was Throbbing Gristle and there was Hendrix live at Monterey. So all the out there stuff, it was, it was cool. That's good era.
It's kind of amazing. Like, my music section was the section at the store I was the most proud of because it opened the store at a period where a lot of indie stores were closing in 1996.
Yeah, wow.
So because Blockbuster and Hollywood were putting these small stores out of business. And so all these amazing little stores were basically letting me grab whatever I wanted. And I was piecemealing things from all over the country when I'd be on tour, be like in Chicago and go to an amazing store and get this really cool stuff, or in New York or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part about closing the store, was just being like saying goodbye to the music section, because all I did was play music in the store. It was like I only played music films, It's like, oh, I can't hear this dialogue again, and foreign films, because I didn't know the language, so it wasn't like I was hearing the same thing over and over again. But it was a treat. But what's amazing is I did not have this, and I thought I did. So when you said, Halber Mensch, I was like, totally. I had that VHS at the shop. I had that other documentary, and the whole time I thought that was this one.
Yeah.
So thank you, because I wouldn't have known. I would have not have seen this without you.
Well,
so I appreciate you so much.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. It's just, I'm glad you got to see it, because it really is. It's hard to overstate how good it is. It's a masterpiece. It's just so ridiculously good.
Yes.
It's so haunting, alien, and weird. It's just and powerful too.
Well, that's why I have to ask you, at the end of every episode, I ask the same question, but I tailor it depending on what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So on a scale from 1 sledgehammer to the wall to 224 whacks to the shopping cart, what do you give Halber Mensch by Neubauten in terms of a scale of 1 sledgehammer to the wall being the lowest and 224 whacks to the shopping cart being the highest?
Well, I'm trying to think of anything better, any music docos I've seen that are better. I mean, there's definitely docos that are good. I don't know, there's the tour documentary of Thelonious Monk, or there's a good Lightning Hopkins doco from back in the day. Jimi Hendrix at Monterey is really good. I mean, it's very popular. It's not the Butthole Surfers or anything like that, but it's fucking crazy good. But I don't know. I'd give it, what's the top one? 224?
Yep.
I'll just give it a 10 out of 10, 224. That's why I'm here. I'm spruiking it.
That's exactly right. That's what I have here too. See? 224. Hey. See the shopping cart here? Look, right there. That's the right answer. It's the only answer, people.
10 out of 10.
Gareth, thank you so much.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure of mine. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for listening to Revolutions Per Movie. We release new episodes every Thursday on your favorite podcast app and additional bonus episodes every Sunday on our Patreon. The show is a completely independent affair, so the best way to support the show is through our Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionspermovie, where you can get weekly bonus episodes and shows, exclusive limited edition flexi discs and records and CDs featuring guests that have appeared on the show, and other exclusive goods sent to you just for joining. You can follow us on social media at Revolutions Per Movie and also find out more information about our various guests in the episode show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye!